Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm the Horror Dude, and it's my favorite time of the year.
October!
And to celebrate October, and seeing how it's still early in my channel's life, I figured I'd go back and revisit something spooky back from my childhood. And if you're a 90s kid, you already know it's coming. It's the Goosebumps series. So I figured to make it fun, I'd choose a random Goosebumps book to review for today's showcase. Now this is how it's gonna work. I have every number written down on these little papers of Goosebumps books that I own of the original series. So I'm gonna pick a random one in here, and we're just gonna do a review on it. Not only am I gonna do a review on the books though, I also am gonna do a review on the Goosebumps television episode dealing with the book to kind of give a little bit more context and just have a little bit more fun. So, anyway, let's get to it. Oh shit, okay. Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. So this one probably has the most iconic Goosebumps character in it, and that is the Night of the Living Dummy #1. I picked number 7 out of the thing. So we're gonna be doing Night of the Living Dummy. Now, I've never really been scared of ventriloquist dummies or like dolls or anything like that.
Hi there, my name is Teddy. Do you want to be my friend?
Oh hell no, I'm not doing this.
What are you doing?
You know, let's just make things a little interesting. Why don't we do the entire original trilogy of the original books, Night of the Living Dummy 1, 2, and 3. Now, I do want to come up with some ground rules here because I know there's like 10 different Night of the Living Dummy books out there. I only want to talk about the original television shows that pertain to any of these 3. So, Bride of Slappy, I'm just not going to do a review of because just no. So anyway, let's get to it. And by the way, there will be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen this and don't want to be spoiled, I am sorry. Ah, the one that started it all, Night of the Living Dummy. Night of the Living Dummy is about 2 twins, Lindy and Chris, who just straight up hate each other. Actually, they don't really hate each other, but man, do they just try and outdo each other on everything. Lindy and Chris find Slappy in a dumpster of a construction site for a house next door, and Lindy takes a liking to Slappy because, you know, who the fuck could hate this? And starts to train herself on being a ventriloquist. She's so good at it that she gets offered $20 to perform at a kid's birthday party. Chris gets super jealous and starts whining and complaining, and like any parents of a whiny crazy child, they give in to the little dictator's demands. Chris wants a ventriloquist dummy for herself, and her dad finds Mr. Wood, a cool, hip-sounding dummy at a pawn shop window who basically gives him away. Chris finds a paper in Mr. Wood's jacket with random gibberish of words written down. That I won't be speaking here today. Obviously for my safety. After that, weird things start to happen. Mr. Wood begins saying things on his own, he blinks randomly with no one near him, and later in the book vomits green slime all over a bunch of school children. The book ends with Mr. Wood ultimately getting run over by a steamroller from the construction site next door. Yet little do the twins know that Slappy is alive now, with the last words in the book reading, "As she leaned over the chair to grab the window frame, Slappy reached up and grabbed her arm. 'Hey, slave, is the other guy gone?' the dummy asks in a throaty growl. 'I thought he'd never leave.'" Unfortunately for us, Night of the Living Dummy, the first one, never received a Goosebumps episode. It's speculated that since Mr. Wood was the main protagonist in this rather than Slappy, the studio didn't want to come out with an episode where Slappy wasn't the main protagonist, as he was seriously being pushed as Goosebumps' main mascot, so to say. But actually doing a little bit of homework on this review, I did find out something quite interesting. That they did actually shoot an episode for it, but it never aired, and the reason was because it was just too scary for little kids. Minus that though, the book was fantastic and is seen as one of the best books out of the original 62. The book is very subtle in its scares too. The whole time you expect Slappy to be the villain, when in reality he's not. I actually really enjoyed this twist as it's completely unexpected. Lastly, the humanistic traits the twins give the dummies when looking at them or when an event happens where the sisters suspect the dummies does something bad really adds to the tone and atmosphere around the dummies, and it portrays really well in the first book of the Night of the Living Dummy series.
No, I'm gonna kill you!
Oh my god! No! Let's talk about Night of the Living Dummy 2! Night of the Living Dummy Chopsticks, 2, is the 31st book in the original Goosebumps run, and it's seen as probably the best overall Goosebumps book ever among many of the hardcore fans, minus maybe the Haunted Mask. The second book in the Night of the Living Dummy series takes many tropes from the first book and amps them. Slappy is again found in where else a pawn shop for dirt cheap, slaps someone randomly living up to his name, and is brought to life from a paper in his jacket that reads, Karu Marie, Odana Loma, Molon Carano!
No, you've defeated me!
The main protagonist is a girl. This time around, the main protagonist is a girl named Amy, who's the middle child of a family that enjoys having share nights, where the family comes together and shares something what seems every day, or at least the parents enjoy it. Amy has an older 16-year-old sister named Sarah, who's an extremely gifted artist, who Amy is a little jealous of, but not as jealous as Chris is towards Lindy in the first book. And a younger brother named Jed, who's a prankster and a disgusting weirdo. While there are some glaring faults in the book, like a slow beginning, timid confusion, and the glaring accident on page 114 where they said to take the dummy upstairs, when in the first chapter it says they live in a single-story home. The story reads the best out of all the Goosebumps books I've read. You really get a sense that Amy is being mentally tortured by Slappy. This is never more apparent than when we find out that Amy's dream was to ultimately become a ventriloquist, but then after Slappy's shenanigans, it makes Amy never want to touch a ventriloquist dummy again. It's really saddening and heartbreaking. There are some scenes written so well you actually feel the tension, like when Amy's trying to sneak behind Slappy as to not have him see her in the dark hallway. Lastly, the book highlights perfectly on the role of the black sheep of the family. You really get a sense on everyone turning on Amy fully when she was already pretty much seen as an outsider in the first place. Now, while the book was so good, the television counterpart was really lackluster. The same tension and Slappy's mental strain on Amy's dreams is basically gone throughout the episode. It didn't have any of the book's sense of helplessness and charm. Plus, Amy is just completely unlikable in the episode. The only positive I can take from the show is obviously Slappy. While not scary, he is super mischievous and fun to watch. I get why he wants to take over the family, and the way he goes about it and his performance is just fun. Everything else is pretty lackluster though, and it doesn't follow the book as well as I liked. Here's Night of the Living Dummy 3. Die, you Care Bear wannabe! This one takes place almost directly after Night of the Living Dummy 2. Trina and her brother Dan live in a ventriloquist hell where the devil's a big Teletubby. Actually, no, scratch that. Trina's dad is an ex-ventriloquist and keeps all his old dolls in a museum in the attic. Not creepy at all. Well, her dad finds Slappy in a trash can broken to pieces after the end of Night of the Living Dummy 2 and decides to fix him. While the book is somewhat interesting, there doesn't seem to be a lot of focus on the dummies. Let's talk about the story as a whole, considering the TV episode and the book are pretty similar, with the episode having some amazing differences. After Trina and Dan's dad find Slappy, he explains that their cousin Zane, who is not only a complete wimp but ruined all of the Star Wars prequels, will be coming to visit. Their dad tells the kids to promise not to scare Zane, as last time they basically scarred Zane for life by cow. After a while, a dummy called Rocky, not Slappy, is found all over the house and causing all kinds of problems. Suspecting something, Dan and Trina hide in the attic where they catch Zane and discover he's the one messing with his dummies. He figures he needed a little revenge considering last time they scared him so bad Zane felt it was his turn to get them back. Slappy apparently doesn't find Zane's tricks amusing and breathes green smoke into Rocky's mouth, giving him life and making him his lackey. The three kids make a truce to not prank each other anymore, but unfortunately they walk into a room with a bunch of dummies being put in all kinds of strange places. And this leads up to a couple of amazing changes the television show had from the book. One of them is that Zane gets turned into a dummy. Now, this gives Slappy a little bit more of a terrifying element to him. He's not just threatening the kids to be his slaves for no fear of consequences from the kids. Now, if they don't listen to Slappy, they'll get turned into a dummy. Now, the ending of the episode is by far my favorite change the TV show had from the book. Get this, in the book, the other dummies come to life and just attack Slappy. But in the episode, Slappy is thrown out the window by Rocky, where a bolt of lightning hits him and he explodes. And then the last change, the episode ends with Hayden Christensen twisting his head all the way around, implying that he's still part dummy. So while in the book the story overall is decent, the television show takes this to a whole nother level. The TV show turned this episode into a two-parter, which gave them more time to stay close to the source material. Not only were the characters more vibrant and interesting than the other book counterparts, it was actually pretty well acted according to Goosebumps standards. It's definitely the most ballsy of the original 3 Night of the Living Dummy books, and it shows. The twist of Zane being a prankster and getting his cousins back was great too, as it brought what you thought would be a throwaway character and turned him into a major focal point.
Except for how the Star Wars fans shot all over.
Overall, the third Night of the Living Dummy is really cool, but I highly recommend you check out the two-part episode of this. It is fantastic. In a closing note, Goosebumps was meant for kids, meaning they were just simple stories. The characters, the scares, all simple but effective. We could look at them now as adults and think, well, none of this is scary at all. For example, as adults, we can't comprehend someone not allowing us privileges for the mischief or pranks that the same kids in the story pulled unless you put yourself in that 12-year-old's shoes. Being accused of things you didn't do is one of the worst things that can happen to a child psychologically. It takes away their credibility due to their age, which can be really traumatic for someone so young. So while the Goosebumps stories are simple, it puts into perspective a 10-year-old's true fears rather than only relying on monsters and the supernatural for scares alone. This is why Goosebumps was and is so beloved to this day, as it reminds us of the inner fears we had as children, real world and imaginary. Alright, thanks guys. I'm the horror dude, and I'm gonna do what should have been done in those damn books. There. No more evil dummies.
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, I just want to take a quick second to thank each and every one of you for watching my October Goosebumps special, and also ask if you liked it to please leave a like and even subscribe to my channel, where basically the Halloween party just never stops. But if you are still skeptical, I did leave a couple videos down below for you to check out as well, and overall, I hope you guys are having a kick-ass October this year, and well, bye-bye for now, Horror Nation.